Welcome back, grinders, to Daily Grind. I'm Steve Daly, your host. My wife told me once that I love chaos. Not as an insult, not in anger, just observing me. And it pissed me off at first, because who the fuck loves chaos? Who wants stress, tension, pressure, constant noise in their head? But the more I sat with it, the more I realized something uncomfortable. She wasn't saying I enjoy destruction. She was noticing that I function better when things are on fire. And that's not a personality trait, that's trauma, real trauma. Not bad days, not stress, not life was hard. Actual trauma that teaches your body rules your mind never agreed to. So let's talk about that, because if you live this, you're not broken, you're trained.
This is Daily Grind. I don't do safe topics, trigger warnings, or corporate-friendly bullshit. No subject is off limits. Political, true crime, history, or whatever else gets the gears grinding in your head. I grind into reality like it owes me rent.
You don't love chaos, you trust it. When you've lived in survival mode long enough, your body stops caring about happiness. That's not philosophy, that's neuroscience. Your brain doesn't prioritize joy when it thinks you might die. It prioritizes prediction, because the human nervous system doesn't actually want comfort, it wants certainty. And chaos for someone who's lived inside it is predictable. That sounds backwards until you understand how the brain works. At the center of this is the amygdala. That's the threat detector, the smoke alarm. It doesn't reason, it doesn't analyze, it doesn't care what year it is. It only asks one question: have we survived this before? If the answer is yes, it marks it as familiar. Not safe, familiar. And the brain prefers familiar danger over unfamiliar calm every single time. So when you live under constant stress, conflict, instability, or threat, the amygdala becomes overtrained. It learns patterns, raised voices, sudden silence, waiting, uncertainty. Those things get tagged as danger. Meanwhile, urgency gets tagged as clarity. Because urgency has rules. Because when something's wrong, your nervous system lights the fuck up like a Christmas tree with adrenaline and cortisol. Those chemicals sharpen focus, narrow attention, increase reaction speed. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing tightens. Your thoughts simplify. Your body goes, good, we know this. Move fast, solve the problem, stay sharp, don't relax. That's not anxiety, that's conditioned survival. And here's where it gets twisted. Dopamine, the motivation chemical, gets released during problem solving under pressure, not during rest, so your brain literally rewards chaos. Not because it enjoys suffering, because crisis equals purpose. Problems give you a mission, and missions make sense to a survival brain. That's where you feel competent. That's where you feel useful. That's where you feel alive. Not emotionally alive, biologically alive. Your nervous system finally aligns with the environment. Then life slows down. No emergency, no pressure, no immediate problem. And your body doesn't celebrate, it panics. Because when cortisol and adrenaline drop, your system doesn't feel calm. It feels empty, understimulated, disconnected, like an engine that suddenly lost power at highway speed. That's why calm doesn't feel peaceful, it feels wrong. Your chest tightens not because something bad is happening, but because your brain is asking, why aren't we preparing? Silence becomes threatening. Stillness feels unsafe. Peace feels only temporary. Your body learned that calm was the moment before impact. And for me, it literally quite was. When I was deployed to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, I fell out of the control tower about 15 to 20 feet. And I remember falling. I fell backwards. I remember looking up at the opening to the tower and just thinking, this sucks. This is going to hurt. And my body relaxed, and that's probably what saved me from breaking bones. I landed flat on my feet, fell on my ass, smashed my head off of a steel railing, had a concussion, sprained knee, sprained foot, and I got PTSD from that. So there's a little bit about me. That quiet was when you waited for the other shoe to drop. So now your nervous system scans calm instead of resting in it. This is why people with real trauma struggle in good times. Nothing is wrong, but your body can't believe that yet. The prefrontal cortex, the logical part of your brain, might know you're safe, but trauma doesn't live there. It lives in the nervous system. In muscle memory, in heart rate, in breathing patterns, in reflex. Your body learned faster than your thoughts ever could. So you don't crave chaos, you crave the psychological state your body recognizes as normal. High alert, focused, ready, and predictable. Because your nervous system chaos isn't danger, chaos is home, and calm is unfamiliar territory, and unfamiliar to a survival brain is the most dangerous place there is. That's not weakness, that's biology doing exactly what it was designed to do. The problem isn't that you love chaos, the problem is that your body learned how to survive in it, and nobody ever taught you how to live without it. Let's get this straight before someone cheapens the word. Trauma doesn't mean inconvenience. It doesn't mean stress. It doesn't mean pressure. It doesn't mean someone hurt your feelings once. Trauma means your nervous system learned the world was unsafe. And that learning doesn't always take years. Sometimes it takes one moment, one split second, one instant where your body thought, I might die right now. That's all it takes. A near miss, an explosion, a crash, a fall, a moment where time slows and your body goes somewhere your mind didn't choose. Pure fight or flight. No thinking, no reasoning, no logic. Your nervous system hits the override switch. Heart rate spikes, vision narrows, hearing distorts, adrenaline floods your bloodstream. Your body is no longer in the present. It's in survival. And the part people don't understand, your brain doesn't store that moment as memory. It stores it as a rule. It learns. This is how fast danger arrives. This is how sudden life can change. This is how quickly everything can be taken. So even after your body survives, your nervous system stays alert. Because it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It kept you alive. Trauma can absolutely be repeated. Violence, abuse, neglect, combat, instability, constant threat, never knowing what version of the day you're walking into. But trauma can also be one moment that hits so hard your body never forgets, because survival doesn't measure time. It measures intensity, and intensity rewires fast. Your body adapted, that adaptation saved you. But survival mode was never meant to be permanent. The sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight, is designed for short bursts, minutes, not years, not decades. But once it's been activated at full force, your body remembers how to get there, easily, too fucking easily. So now, even when life stabilizes, your body doesn't feel relief. It feels understimulated, rested, disconnected, because adrenaline became the baseline, cortisol became normal. And without them, your system feels off balance, not calm. It feels wrong. And you know what? That's not weakness. That's just biology and the way the human body works. Your nervous system learned that intensity equals survival. And now peace feels suspicious because your body remembers that moment everything almost ended. And it refuses to believe it can't happen again. That's trauma. Not emotion, not attitude, not mindset. A body that learned too much too fast and is still trying to keep you alive long after the danger passed. And this is where people start putting labels on you, because in real situations, when something actually breaks, you're solid. When systems fail, you're calm. When something goes sideways, you lock it the fuck in. When everyone else is flailing, you're already moving. Your thinking sharpens, your voice steadies, and your body finally feels aligned with the moment. That's not coincidence. That's your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. But then come the normal days. The slow ones built on waiting, approvals, procedures, the layers of people who don't actually have to touch the goddamn problem. That's where things start to grind you down. Because your body doesn't interpret slowness as professionalism. It interprets it as danger. Your system starts buzzing under your skin. If you think this way and you have this problem, I'm sure you can relate to it. You've been at work thinking, holy fuck. What the hell? If you're behind a slow driver, like, pick it the fuck up, let's go. walking behind someone in Walmart. Jesus Christ, you walk any fucking slower? Your system starts buzzing under its skin. You can feel it in your jaw, in your shoulders, in the urge to move when no one else does. So when a simple issue drags on, it doesn't feel minor, it feels negligent. When decisions stall, it doesn't feel patient, it feels unsafe. When problems get talked about instead of handled, your nervous system reads it as failure to act, and your tolerance drops fucking fast. Not because you're angry, because your body is saying, why the hell are we standing still when something's wrong? Delays feel personal. Indecision feels reckless. Rules that exist for appearance instead of functioning feel insulting. You're not trying to be difficult. You're reacting to a system that moves opposite the way your survival wiring does. Other people operate in comfort mode. You operate in readiness mode. And that mismatch creates friction. You start getting described as intense, hard to work with, always on edge. Meanwhile, you're burning energy just trying to keep your nervous system from hitting the gas pedal. People see behavior, they don't see the internal alarm blaring non-stop. They don't feel the constant readiness. They don't feel how unnatural waiting feels inside of your body. So you end up questioning yourself, wondering why you can handle real emergencies without blinking, but lose patience over things that seem small to everyone else. That's not a character flaw. That's over-adaptation. Your body was built for action. And now your body is trapped in environments that reward delay. I always like to say only the fuck-ups get promoted. You're not bad at your job. You're just wired for moments that require movement, decisiveness, and responsibility. And when those moments disappear, your nervous system doesn't power down. It starts malfunctioning. Not because it's broken, but because it was never designed to sit idle while problems pile up. That's not attitude, that's survival wiring colliding with modern systems. Let's talk about how this destroys relationships. This part hurts the most because it doesn't look dramatic from the outside. There's no explosion, there's no obvious fight, no clear moment where everything breaks. It's slow. Calm relationships can feel wrong, not boring. Wrong. And when things are peaceful, your body doesn't relax into it. It waits. Because silence doesn't register as comfort to a traumatized nervous system. Silence feels dangerous. Quiet feels like the moment before something bad happens. Your body learned that stillness meant waiting for impact. So when your house is calm, when nothing's wrong, when your partner is just existing next to you, your chest tightens anyway. Not because they did something, because your nervous system doesn't trust quiet. And uncertainty in relationships hits even harder. Not knowing what someone's thinking, not knowing what mood they're in, not knowing if something's wrong. That unknown feels threatening. That's something I know a little bit too much. Your body doesn't interpret uncertainty as neutral, it interprets it as danger. So your brain starts scanning tone, timing, facial expressions, silence. You're reading between the lines that don't exist. Because once upon a time, reading those signals kept you safe. Your partner wants closeness, your body wants to brace. They want connection. You're preparing for harm you can't even name. They want space, you want connection for closure. You get short or emotionally shut down. Sometimes you go numb, sometimes you get irritable. Not because you don't care, because your nervous system doesn't know how to be safe without tension attached. Love without chaos feels unfamiliar. Stability without stress feels unreal. You can love someone deeply and still feel uncomfortable when life is good. That's one of trauma's cruelest tricks. It makes safety feel suspicious. It makes peace feel temporary. So instead of enjoying the calm, your body monitors it, waiting for the moment it disappears. And that creates distance even when love is present. Your partner might feel shut out. They might feel drowned. Your partner might feel misunderstood. And neither of you is wrong. You're just operating from two different nervous systems. One looking for connection, one still trying to survive. You finally get stability. And you finally get someone who isn't hurting you. And your body doesn't know how to live there yet. Not because you're broken, because survival taught you love always came with tension attached. And now you're learning, slowly and painfully, that it doesn't have to anymore. If you don't know already, nobody ever tells you what the warning signs look like. They act like emotional overload comes out of nowhere, like you just snap one day. That's bullshit. It builds, and quietly. And if you live in a trauma-wired body, the signs don't show up as sadness. They show up as pressure. The first sign is physical. Your body starts tightening for no clear reason. Jaw clenched, teeth grinding, shoulders creeping up, breathing gets shallow without you noticing. You feel like you need to move, pace, do something, anything. Stillness becomes unbearable. That's your nervous system shifting into alert mode. Not because something bad is happening, because it thinks something bad is coming. Then your tolerance shrinks. Things you normally shrug off suddenly feel heavy. Noise irritates you. Questions feel intrusive. Conversation feels like work. You don't want to talk, but you don't want to be alone either. You feel crowded inside of your own body. That's the middle stage. That's when people start misreading you. They think you're angry. You're not. You're overloaded. Your brain is processing too much threat data at once. After that comes hyperfocus. You latch onto small details. A comment, a tone, a delay, a look. Your mind starts looping it, replaying it, analyzing it, trying to figure out what's wrong before it goes wrong. That's not paranoia. That's a survival brain trying to regain predictability. Then comes emotional narrowing. You stop feeling a range of emotions. Everything compresses into irritation, impatience, or numbness. Empathy drops not because you don't care, because your nervous system is diverting resources. When survival mode ramps up, connection shuts down. That's biology, not cruelty. And right before the boil, there's one more sign people miss. You start thinking in absolutes. Nothing ever works. I'm done. I can't deal with this. I just need it to stop. That's not truth. That's your system begging for relief because it's running out of capacity. That's the moment right before things boil over. Not rage, not yelling, not collapse. Shutdown, explosion, something gives. The goal isn't to never reach this point. That's unrealistic. The goal is actually to learn how to recognize it early enough to intervene, to step away, to slow the moment, to say nothing instead of everything, to create space before damage happens. Because once you can name the boil, you're no longer trapped inside of it. You stop thinking you're just losing it. You realize your body is asking for regulation. And this is something my wife talks to me about quite often. I need to learn how to regulate myself. And honestly, your body does need regulation in these moments. It doesn't need punishment. It doesn't need shame. It doesn't need more pressure. Awareness doesn't fix everything. But it gives you a moment of choice. And sometimes that moment is the difference between blowing your life apart and letting the wave pass without taking everything with it. And when your nervous system is overreacting, your mouth wants to go nuclear. You feel the pressure building and your instinct is to unload it, explain everything, correct everything, say the hard truth right now. That urge feels righteous, it feels necessary, it feels like relief. But here's the truth. When you're in survival mode, you are not communicating, you're discharging. And discharge burns people who aren't the threat. So the first rule is this. You do not owe explanations while dysregulated. Silence is safer than accuracy in that moment, because anything said from fight or flight will come out sharp, absolute, and final, even if that's not how you meant it. Instead, you learn containment language, not avoidance, containment. Simple phrases that don't escalate. I'm overloaded right now. I need a minute before I say something wrong. This isn't about you, I just need space. Those sentences matter. They protect relationships while buying your nervous system time. You're not shutting people out. You're preventing collateral damage. Another hard truth. You don't have to win in the moment. Trauma-trained brains hate unresolved tension. They want closure immediately. But forcing resolution while activated almost always makes things worse. Sometimes the healthiest move is to delay. To say, I can talk later. Later is not avoidance. Later is regulation. When your body settles, your words soften, your tone returns, your perspective widens. And when you can actually be heard, that's how bridges stay standing, not by feeling overwhelmed, but by learning when not to speak. You need to find an outlet that doesn't destroy you. You cannot think your way out of this because trauma lives in the body, which means coping has to involve movement, expression, or release. Something that gives pressure a direction. If it has nowhere to go, it will always go sideways, into anger, into drinking, into isolation, into blowing up relationships. You need an outlet, not a distraction, an outlet. Something that lets intensity move out instead of turning inward. For some people, it's physical, training, lifting, long walks, working until sweat replaces adrenaline. For others, it's creative, writing, music, art, building something from nothing. For me, this podcast became an outlet. Not because I wanted attention, because I needed somewhere to put the noise. Somewhere the thoughts could go without hurting people around me. Somewhere the pressure could be shaped instead of detonated. Creation gives chaos boundaries. It turns energy into structure. It lets you say things without aiming them at someone. It gives your nervous system movement without destruction. That's why creativity helps trauma survivors so much. It engages the same intensity pathways without burning the bridges. You don't need the same outlet I found. You just need one that's yours. Something honest, something real. Something that lets your system discharge safely, because this energy doesn't disappear. You either guide it or it chooses its own target. And that's when the damage happens. This isn't about becoming calm all the time. It's about learning how to live with a powerful nervous system without letting it wreck your life. If you live this, you are not broken. You are not defective. You are not damaged goods. You are not addicted to drama. And this is something my psychologist at the VA tries to explain to me every time I see him. Oh, you're not broken. Yeah, whatever. You survived something that required your body to stay alert. Something that taught your nervous system over and over. Don't relax. Stay ready. Pay attention. And that lesson worked. It kept you alive. So there is nothing wrong with the fact that your body still remembers it. The problem isn't that you're stuck. It is that your body doesn't know the danger ended. Healing doesn't mean becoming calm overnight. It doesn't mean suddenly loving quiet. It doesn't mean waking up peaceful one day like a switch flipped. Healing is slower than that. Healing is teaching your nervous system through experience that peace is not a trap. That silence doesn't automatically mean harm. That nothing happening isn't the moment before everything goes wrong. And your body does not learn that through logic. It learns it through repetition, through small, safe moments that pass without punishment, through calm that doesn't turn into chaos afterwards, through arguments that don't end in abandonment, through days that are uneventful and stay that way. That takes time. That takes patience most people were never forced to learn. Because you weren't taught patience and safety. You were taught urgency and survival. So yes, some days you'll still crave pressure. Some days you'll feel restless for no reason. Some days calm will feel empty or wrong or unsettling. That doesn't mean you're failing. That doesn't mean you're backsliding. It doesn't mean you're broken again. It means your body is unlearning old rules. Rules that kept you alive once. Rules that just aren't needed the same way anymore. And unlearning survival is one of the hardest things a human being can do, because survival becomes identity. Letting go of it feels like letting your guard down, like tempting fate, like disrespecting what you lived through. But healing isn't erasing your past. It's teaching your body that you don't have to keep bleeding to prove you survived. You're not weak for struggling with peace. You're not ungrateful for finding calm uncomfortable. You're not wrong for needing time. You're transitioning from surviving to living. And that transition is messy, slow, uneven, but it's real. And if you're in it right now, you're not behind. You're exactly where someone who lived through real trauma would be. Still here, still trying, still learning how to breathe without bracing. So when someone says you love chaos, understand what they're really saying. They're seeing a nervous system that learned to survive. They're seeing someone who adapted. They're seeing a body that protected you when nothing else could. You don't need to hate that part of yourself. You don't need to shame it. You just need to teach it that the war is over. Slowly, imperfectly, one quiet moment at a time. If you live this, you're not alone. If calm feels wrong to you, you're not crazy. If stability makes you uneasy, you're not ungrateful. You survived. Now you're learning how to live. That's not weakness. That's the hardest transition there is. That's the grind. I'm Steve Daly, your host, and we'll see you next time here on Daily Grind.